Hello and welcome to Manchester United, the D Unit's View. I am reflecting today upon Ruben Amorim's first press conference and his first interactions with the media. And I'll also be previewing the Ipswich game, which unfortunately is the late kickoff on Sunday, Super Sunday in the UK. It's a 4:30 p.m. fixture, which is dreaded over here in Western Australia, probably even more so in Sydney, because the game starts at 12:30 on Monday morning, which means that the game won't finish to 2:30. And if there's any late drama, I can tell you that by the time I actually get to sleep, it's probably going to be pushing 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., maybe even 4 a.m., depending on the way the game goes. But look, I'm excited. This is the official start of the Ruben Amorim era. And look, there's plenty to be excited about, plenty to get to delve into as well. He talked beautifully, I thought, in front of the media. I've just finished listening to the press conference because obviously he gave it while I was kind of sleeping or was busy last night, so I didn't actually catch it live. But he talked beautifully, I thought. He answered the questions really intelligently, and he definitely had that charisma that everyone had sort of talked about, that he was quite evident at Sporting Lisbon. That was definitely on display in his first proper unveiling to the media, the world's media. The Carrington Training Centre and the Jimmy Murphy Centre, where the press conference actually took place, looked like it was pretty damn packed with people from ITV, BBC, all the normal news outlets. Obviously, Laurie Whitwell asked a couple of questions. So did Samuel Lockhurst from the Manchester Evening News. I recognise their voices that when they were asking the questions. I listened to a lot of their pods as well. And look, I thought first impressions, he sounded beautiful, and I'm excited. It was like comparing him to what an Erik ten Hag press conference was like. It was like comparing night with day. That's the difference that I felt. Listening to him, he just sounded, his grasp of English is so much better, obviously, than Ten Hag's as well. He spoke it fluently, and I don't think anything was lost in translation. I mean, it was a running joke that, at the start of Erik ten Hag's thing, that he kept on saying, like, please, as like, thank you. It was really weird. Or like the other way around. I'm not sure which one it was, but like, kind of got lost. But it was quite funny. There was lots of memes made out of it and lots of funny videos. But yeah, I think there's lots to get excited about. I think the best thing to start off with here is actually the information he gave to MUTV's Mark Sullivan about the squad fitness and injury news and squad update. So he actually gave a fitness update on Luke Shaw, and this is what he had to say. So we have to see, we have one more training, but Luke Shaw, for example, is feeling fine. But we have to build his fitness during games, so we have to be careful. I think he's a very good player, so I'll take care of him, and I want these kinds of players that are important in our squad for a long period, not just for one game, which is fantastic. I think that's what we all want to hear. We have some guys returning from injury, so we've had some moments together working in that indoor pitch on tactical work. We have to manage the load during this week with some players from national teams as well, but we are ready to face Ipswich. So look, we saw obviously the training ground footage released the other day. There was a 7-minute video or 7-minute clip of edited footage, obviously, of showing particular players in certain roles. Luke Shaw was obviously lining up in the left centre-back position, as was Lenny Yoro in the right centre-back position. So I'll be interested to see if we finally see a debut for Lenny Yoro. Obviously, he's been working on the pitch. He must be pretty damn close. I mean, the timeline for returning from a metatarsal injury fits with him being available for the Ipswich game. So I'm intrigued to see if we will see him, or if we'll see Dallo or Mazarawi start in that role if he's not quite fit and available. But it'd be exciting to see Lenny Yoro potentially get his debut this weekend. And obviously Luke Shaw, I think that his most likely place, you'd love to play him at left wing back. I just don't think his body, as we've seen pretty much over since he broke his leg all the way back in that European game years and years ago under Louis van Gaal, I think that I think his position moving forward is probably going to be the left centre-back role, because I just don't think his body's going to be able to capable of performing in the left wing-back role consistently without breaking down with injury. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be a lot of working out. One thing that he did say in his press conference was that we'll see the same sort of players. They'll just be positioned slightly differently. Like he got asked a lot of questions on the 3-4-3 inadvertently, going, oh, you've got a certain way of playing. And he was right. There is not much difference between playing a back three, a back four, a back five. It's just about the positioning. Like the ideas are fairly similar. There's just the positioning is different. And hopefully that means that it won't take too long for the players to adjust to this. And he did make mention of like, some of the limitations of, because obviously I think one of the questions was based on round pegs in square holes. Like, how's that going to work? And he did make mention, that some of the players are, like, everyone wants to play at the moment. He even said, like, some players would even play in the goalkeeper position. That was his actual words. And how that looks moving forward, it's going to be interesting. Like, because obviously, everyone wants to get into the team under him. So he's just going to have to see who's tactically can be moldable into the roles or the positions and the demands of those positions. It's definitely a mental thing. I mean, there's no denying that the players, you could see they were trying still under Erik ten Hag. They just looked a bit clueless, like in terms of what they wanted to do. And I think the messaging from Erik ten Hag probably got lost in translation quite often. And I think that Ruben Amorim comes across as a way more personable type of a character that's going to build those relationships with the players. I feel like he's a combination of Erik ten Hag with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Hopefully that's what it is, because I think that if he's got both of those traits, he could be brilliant. He could be anything for Manchester United. And hopefully that's what it's going to be. And look, unlike Erik ten Hag, who banged on about just always needing more time, always needing more process, we've got young players, we've got to embed them all the time, Ruben Amorim basically said, it is going to take time, but also acknowledge that it's a results business. We have to be getting results. And he also made it clear that he's not going to adapt to the players he's got. He's going to play he called it our way of football, which I thought was brilliant. It wasn't like it's my way of football, it's our way. Almost like talking like the players and him are already working together as one team rather than this is my idea and the players are just going to come along. It's our idea and we're going to go along the journey together. And he basically said that we're going to be starting playing this way from day dot. So you can guarantee on Sunday that we will line up in a 3-4, probably 2-1 formation, which is technically 3-4-3, but it's more the two inverted winger type number 10s behind the striker. I think we're 100% likely to see that. He also made mention that we're likely to see the same players just line up in a different sort of positional sense. So I wouldn't be surprised that we saw the likes of Rashford, that everyone goes, really? But I think we are likely to see him. We're probably likely to see Dalot and Mazraoui, but they'll just be in slightly different positions. That would be my guess. I still think you only play one of them, or maybe one plays on the left wing back role. I'm not sure. We might even see Anthony. Who knows? We're just going to have to wait and see. But I think that we're likely to see the majority of players that played under Erik ten Hag line up for Ruben Amorim. I don't think he's going to change the players too much. I do think, though, that I would like to see Amat. As I've been saying for a long time, I would like to see that guy given a run of games, and I think that he's definitely someone that can mould into one of those inside 10 positions or even the right wing back position if that's what Ruben Amorim decides to do. So look, Kieran McKenna also gave an update on the Ipswich team news. He basically said they're definitely without Chidozie Egbone, who had surgery at the end of October on Achilles tear. You won't be seeing him this season, Ipswich fans, I can tell you that much. Calvin Phillips returns from suspension, but he needs to be assessed because apparently he's been having a problem since Ipswich 1-1 draw with Leicester on the 2nd of November. Nathan Broadbent and Wesley Burns could return, having had time during the international break to recover from a minor groin problem and a knock respectively. Jacob Greaves has been absent with a muscle injury since early October, but has recently returned to training, as has Jack Taylor, who was also unavailable in recent weeks. Both trained with the main group, leaving the coaches with a decision to make before Sunday. I would imagine that Jacob Greaves comes back in. I'm pretty sure he's their starting centre-back. If he's fit, he's probably playing. And Omari Hutchinson with a heavily bruised foot could be available to play a role, but striker George Hurst is out for a while, said McKenna, due to sustaining a knee injury against Tottenham. So that is the team news for Ipswich. And look, this game is a bit of a banana peel because everyone is excited. All the United fans are up and about. I'm up and about. I'm like, yes, I'm expecting a win. And normally when you're expecting a win, these games can be a little bit more tricky than what you're expecting. And I honestly believe it. In my head, I'm like going, I predicted 4-0 on the Man United app. That's how confident I am. Maybe I need to temper those expectations a little bit. I feel like Ipswich are one of those teams at the start of the season, Liverpool, I think, went there on the opening day of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they ended up winning 2-0. But in the first half, Ipswich probably should have taken a lead. They were the better team. It was only when Liverpool got those couple of quick goals. In fact, I think it might have finished 3-0 now that I think about it. And it was all in the second half. But that's because Ipswich, the way they play, they're right on the front foot, especially at home. I expect them to come out, and we're probably going to have to play on the counter-attack. Against them a little bit because of the fact that we're going to get the ball. I think that actually came out wrong out of my head. So in my head, I'm like going, Ipswich attack consistently. They're going to take the game to United. So I think there's going to be chances there that if we press them high, because of the way Ipswich like to play, we could get in really quickly on transition behind them and score some goals that way. I think if we score a goal, I think we'll score more. So that's why I've gone with 4-0. And we might concede a goal. Let's be honest. We might concede a goal, but I'm hoping that the back three, particularly of Andre Onana, who's been in pretty damn good form this season, truth be told, in his second season. He's definitely improved since last season, that's for sure. There's been way less mistakes. I think that there's definitely a chance of a clean sheet. And I think if we get one goal, obviously Ipswich will go chasing the equaliser, and then we can really hurt them, I think. We've got the players definitely to do that. And I'm expecting Bruno Fernandes to keep kicking on as we saw return to form under Ruud van Nistelrooy before the international break. And look, he did score during the international break as well. So did Manuel Ugarte, which is interesting. And you would expect him to really kick on under Ruben Amorim. Considering that he's played for him previously, you would think that he understands his role in particular in this system perfectly, and will hopefully be able to kick on, and we'll actually see the player that we spent 50-odd million pounds on during the summer come to fruition and really take over the central midfield for Manchester United. So look, that's going to be interesting. Now, I want to really focus on some of the questions that Ruben Amorim got asked. Now, I'm going to quickly pull up the transcripts here. So I'm going to share this part of the video just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So, Ruben, the first question you got was, Ruben, welcome to Manchester. If you've had a perception of the club before joining, how does the reality differ? Is it bigger and better than you'd ever imagined? And yes, he's basically come out and said it is bigger. And I think that is a common thing. Like a lot of the managers have come into Manchester United and they've known it's a big club. When they get in there, like, wow, it's actually so much bigger than you can anticipate. And that's because of the history of the club. Like there is a lot there. And I think he's probably, I think he's enjoying it though. I think he'll revel in it. And like he's talked about everyone just being together, like working together. I don't feel like you heard that as much under Erik ten Hag. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just don't feel like I ever got like everyone's working together type of a thing. So the next question he got asked was, you're the sixth permanent manager of Manchester United since the club last won the league title. What gives you faith that you can be the one to restore the club at level? And I like that he says I'm a bit of a dreamer, but he believes in himself. I just feel like, especially the last 6 months of Erik ten Hag, you don't really get you feel like he believed in himself, but you don't feel like that translated or went to anyone else. But when Ruben Amorim said it, you could almost feel like, oh, this guy really is confident that he is the person. He talked about being the right guy in the right moment, or the correct moment, or something like that. And I thought that was really, really quite telling. Now, he also got asked, what are your first impressions in your first few days of the squad and training, and how much time do you think you need? So he said he's not here to repair. He said there's space to grow as a team. And I like that. He's talking about growth. He's not talking about, everyone's rubbish and just throw them all out with the bar fire. A lot of United fans get rid of the whole squad. I'm definitely not of that opinion. I think there's players that, as I said before, when I analysed the squad in my last pod, I think that there's players that definitely need to be moved on in terms of their contracts and things like that. But you don't have to completely overhaul the squad. There are a lot of good players in this squad. They've just been massively underperforming. That is my personal belief. But he did say, I think we have to improve the physical aspect of the team. It is something that we want to improve. That is it. And I do not know how long that will take. which is interesting. And he did talk about learning about the league as well, because obviously the Premier League is the best league in the world. I don't think many people are going to query that statement. I think it's quite obvious that it is. And obviously Manchester United, currently speaking, are in 13th place in the league. I mean, we're 4 points off, I think it's third, but there is a lot of work there. I think the main thing we want to see is consistency. Consistency in the team, consistency in results. And if you can get that with the way the league is and the lack of consistency that has been shown by all the teams above us pretty much, other than Liverpool, who have been ultra consistent this season, which pains me to say it on this pod. But I think from that, there's plenty of room to catch up the teams above us. And I think if we could get on a roll, but teams above us will definitely be looking over their shoulder going, holy hell, the giant has awoken. And hopefully that's what Ruben Amorim can do for the team. So obviously, you obviously have a lot of belief in the players, and there have been a lot spoken about in the system. Is it going to be a case of evolution or revolution? And he's not talking about revolution. And this is where he talked about the back five, back three, back four, all pretty similar. It's just he talked about it being more of an evolution because it's going to be a change in the way that they play football, not a complete overhaul, which I thought was quite good. Obviously, he got talked about Jose Mourinho, and obviously he worked there, and Jose Mourinho sent him a text saying it's a big club with nice people, and basically he's confirmed that it is a big club and it's still got some nice people there, and that he wants to win. So the next question here, Ruben, every manager looks for quick wins, and basically he said, I think we lose the ball far too often. Well, not too often, and we have to keep the ball better. We have to be better when we run back. I think it is clear for everybody, and we have to be very good in the details. Sometimes we are hoping to change a lot of things, big things, and I think it is the small things, and we have to change in those small things in the football. Play as a team, understanding the game in one way. That is the focus. I can tell you on the small things I think I can help these players a lot. And I would agree. I think he's nailed it there. We've got to be better when we run back. Yes, there's so many clips this season where players just give up or they're just horribly out of position. And I think Ruben Amorim's hopefully going to instill the knowledge and the mental clarity in the players of where they need to be playing, where they need to be positioned. And we're hopefully going to treat the ball a lot more safer in terms of not giving it away to teams just willy-nilly all the time. Because that definitely happened under Erik ten Hag. We spent a lot of time chasing shadows because of the fact we just kept on being careless of the ball. Like there were passes being made that were never going to make their targets. And I think that that's something that definitely has to improve, and hopefully that will. And obviously we've just got to be stronger mentally. Like a lot of the times under Erik ten Hag, the team sort of collapsed and we conceded multiple goals in quick concession, and that has to stop. That's one of the things I think that he'll hopefully iron out very quickly, and we won't see this fragility that was definitely evident under the Erik ten Hag version of Manchester United. So hopefully we get that moving forward. And then one of the people asked about Jose Mourinho coming in. Obviously, Jose Mourinho pronounced himself as a special one. He said he's different to Jose Mourinho. He hasn't won the European Cup, which is the Champions League. But obviously, Sporting Lisbon are actually on top of the Champions League group table at the moment when he did leave them. So he talked about not being a European champion and talked about being a different guy, but also the fact that Mourinho did for Portugal coaches what, he made them realise that they could be the best in the world. So he's definitely confident in that respect. But he also thinks that he's the right guy for this moment. Not the special one, but the right guy for the right moment. I like that. I thought that was a really good segment and call that he made there. So, the really big one. The recruitment of Manchester United in the last decade has been quite mixed, to say the least. Do you expect to have an influence on the players that come into this football club, or with that to be left to other departments? Now, this is really interesting because this is probably going to impact on the players that we buy. And I thought his answer was really interesting because everyone talked about, he's just going to work under a sporting director and they're going to buy the players for Manchester United. But I thought this was a really telling response, and this is what he had to say on it. I think it has to be all together, because if you are the coach that comes here and already choose the players, it could be wrong, because this is a football club that will be here for a long time, and you as a coach, you don't know that. And for Manchester United of recent times, that most coaches have only lasted 2.5 years at max. So you have to work everybody together. And for that, we have to improve the processes of recruitment, the data, the profile of the players that we want. But we have to have a strong position on that because I am the coach and I know how we want to play. I think it is all together, but the final word, as you say, should be with the manager. Not because it is your right, but because it is your responsibility. In the end, they will ask you about the results, and in the end, that comes through me. I think that altogether, we can improve the process of recruitment, and I have to understand the league. That is important. And when everything aligns, everything is on the same page, we can correctly buy and sell players, which I thought was a really interesting response. And then the follow-on question was, has that been agreed then that you'll have the final sign-off on players? And he answered this really diplomatically, I thought. I'm not saying that this is the final say, but I have a great responsibility when we choose players because that is something that should be done in this way. I am the manager, the head coach, and I have to choose the players. I actually thought it was really interesting that he alluded to himself as both the head coach and the manager, whereas Manchester obviously... Ineos are very clear to point out that he's been appointed as the head coach, but he definitely talked about being both here, and I thought that that was also something that was interesting to take out of this. Now, he also got asked about this being the impossible job, talked about the managers. He actually was really polite in terms of his response on Erik ten Hag, which I thought was interesting. So he actually had to say this. So you guys had won everything. So the guys that have won everything like Van Gaal and Mourinho, you have new ones that know the club inside out like Solskjaer. Then you have one of the best managers there ever will be outside of the top 5 strongest leagues and Erik ten Hag. That is such a nice compliment to Erik ten Hag. And look, his record outside of the top 5 leagues is amazing. Like he was brilliant in the Dutch league. There's no denying that at all. And Ruben Amorim obviously is not in the top 5 leagues either. But I think hopefully his personality, his charisma, his charm, whatever you want to call it, is hopefully going to be able to develop the players and get everyone playing together as a team. Because I think for a long time, Manchester United have been a moments FC team where they've got great players that produce interesting moments, and that's about it. But if we can get the sum of the parts actually creating a better whole, which has been lacking probably since Fergie's time, then we're onto something. And I think if Ruben Amorim can do that, that is when we will see the return to the top of Manchester United. That's personally what I believe. And he doesn't believe it's the impossible job, but he does think it is going to take time to get going. He did talk about like the length of time, because he said the average length of time that he actually got asked about the 2.5 years. And he said after 2 years, you should be able to see whether you want to continue or whether you not want to continue. And I think that within 2 years, I think we'll see, I'm hoping we're going to see a fantastic team emerge under Ruben Amorim. And I think he just has that look about him. I mean, look at him there. He just looks confident. Erik ten Hag always looked a bit, I don't know, at his press conferences, but he definitely struck me with, he knew what was going on. So he got asked a couple of questions here. I know it's only been a short amount of time, Ruben, but players playing in different positions potentially. Garnacho as a wing-back or a number 10, Rashford up top. What have you made of these players? And do you think these players are open to playing in different positions in your system? And I thought this was a really interesting response. They want to play. In this first moment, they just want to play, so it is easy. In the future, we will see, and I have to understand. You can watch on TV, but then you have to train with them and then understand if we can cope in different situations. So we're in a phase that everybody wants to play now, and if they had the opportunity to play as a goalkeeper, they would play. In the moment, in the future, we will see, but they are open to changing some positions. Or we are open to changing some positions. They are open, oh my God. So look, I think we will see some experimentation. I think we will potentially see a Garnacho at a left wing back position and potentially Marcus Rashford as the number 9. I think Marcus Rashford knows if he's going to play in this team, he's going to have to play as a striker. I just can't see him fitting in anywhere else. He's definitely no wing back, I can tell you that much. So that'll be interesting to see. And then let's have a look at the last little question here. So, hi Ruben, initially is it possible to ask this group of players to play your style, your formation, or do you need to pick a style of footballing philosophy that suits the players you have? And this is what I really loved. As a coach, you have to choose one way or another. I always choose 100% our way. Not his way, our way. I loved the way he worded this response. I prefer to risk a little bit, but to push from the first moment. If they feel since the first day that I believe so much in our way of playing, they will believe too. And I think that's the key. If they believe in what Ruben Amorim is pushing, if he's so strongly convicted, I believe the players will also become strongly convicted, and they'll just do what he's asking. And I think that's very important. And that's definitely something we hope that we will see even small signs of starting on Sunday against Ipswich. Look, I predicted 4-0. I'm not sure if it will be 4-0. This has been a bit of a special episode in terms of delving into Ruben Amorim's press conference. There was a lot there to unpack. I just think that go and check it out yourself. It's on the Man United website. I personally believe it was brilliant. It's definitely worth a watch. It does go for a significant amount of time. I think it went for 16 minutes or something like that, 13 minutes. It was a decent size length press conference, so definitely something worth checking out. And look, lastly, I'm going to finish off on what I shared the other day in terms of my expected 11, my predicted 11 for Sunday. So there's the team I am predicting. I think Luke Shaw probably gets in. Left centre back, Lenny Yoro, I would love to see him. This is probably more wishful thinking. I do probably believe that could be Dallo or Mazraoui there. That probably will be Mazraoui, and Dallo might be where Mazraoui is on this lineup. I wouldn't be surprised, just judging from the fact that he said they're likely to see similar players, but just potentially in different positions. I do believe we'll see Manuel Ugarte, and then it's a real toss-up. It could be Casemiro, it could be Mainu. I'm just going with Mainu because of the fact that he's been there training all week with Casemiro, and I think that Ruben Amorim was pictured giving him one-on-one instruction. That's the only reason why I'm picking him there. Mainu could play somewhere else. I'm not sure. Garnacho, depending on when he gets back from Argentina, he may not start there, but I'm expecting him potentially to play at left wing back. I wouldn't be surprised. He's definitely got the engine. He'll be much better at adapting him there than, say, Marcus Rashford. Then I'm expecting Ahmad to start with Bruno Fernandes in those two inside forward attacking number 10 positions. Fernandes is a definite lock. Ahmad could be someone else. I just want to see him given a go more than anything. He might even end up being a right wing back because I think he's also got the defensive capabilities. But Mason Mount has been pictured in training, so that could easily be Mason Mount with Bruno Fernandes. And then up top, I had plumped for Rashford, only because of the fact that he's had more time working with Amorim. But, that could be Rasmus Højlund. So it'll be interesting to see. Let me know in the comments if you think it's what your lineup would be and what you thought of Ruben Amorim's first press conference if you've watched it, because I thought he talked brilliantly. It was much nicer listening to him than Erik ten Hag, and I can tell you that much. And the charisma and the self-confidence was definitely there to see. And it was great that he could speak English so well, which is fantastic as well, which would hopefully mean that the communication with the players will definitely be picking up moving forward. So if you've liked this content, please like the video. And if you're new, please subscribe as well. And if you're following along on audio, please rate the show as well. I'll join you for a review into Ruben Amorim's first game, post the Ipswich game. So hopefully we get a win and a 4-0 win. I'll see you on the other side. That's been the D Unit.